Next news, insulting Islam got him a 24-year sentence. The story of Mubarak Bala. In a case that has sparked global condemnation of Nigeria's blasphemy laws, the 24-year prison sentence of Mubarak Bala, the president of the Humanist Association of Nigeria, was reduced to 5 years by an appeals court on May 13th. Bala had been convicted in April of 2020 under Kano State's draconian laws that criminalized insults to Islam, specifically violating Section 210 of Kano State's Penal Code. Well, his lawyer, James Ibor, celebrated the reduction, stating, "We were grateful the court agreed with us that the sentence was against the law." He vowed to appeal further on the grounds of lack of jurisdiction and the court's quote-unquote predisposition to convict in Bala's allegedly coerced guilty plea. Human rights groups like Humanists International decried the initial duress-induced conviction as a horrific violation of Bala's peaceful exercise to his rights of freedom of religion or belief and expression. The case spotlighted the harsh criminalization of blasphemy and dissent in deeply religious parts of Nigeria. So, this is a case that we have been following at Atheist Republic for a very long time now. And if you've been with Atheist Republic for a long time, you know about Mubarak Bala, but I will give a summary for people who are maybe hearing about his case for the first time. So Mubarak Bala is an ex-Muslim atheist living in Nigeria who became a prominent leader in the humanist community in Nigeria because he was imprisoned in a mental institution by his family when he apostatized from Islam. And that was what initially brought him to fame. And then he became an activist after that, after he was freed from unjust detention in the mental asylum. So what happened in 2020, and this was right when I was getting started with the Atheist Republic, was that he was giving a criticism of a local religious leader online and basically called him a terrorist and compared him to the terroristic proclivities of the Prophet Muhammad, as he put it in a Facebook post. And because of this Facebook post, there were some lawyers that filed a case against him, that took offense at what he said and filed a case against him. And basically what happened was that he was unjustly detained for 2-3 years without charge after that initial thing. And what happened was, I went when this happened and read what the lawyers filed against him. And the lawyers filed a case against him saying that he needs to be detained because what he said is going to cause violence. And therefore, it's him that needs to be detained, not the Muslims that are going to go riot and cause violence, that should be held accountable and have consequences for any violence that they do. So it's classic victim blaming, right? Classic victim blaming. You are the one that was offended. Therefore, you are the one, because you caused the offense, you are the one that's the real perpetrator. You are the one that's responsible for any violence that other people do in reaction to your criticism that is part of your guaranteed or supposedly freedom of expression. Because of your insults, because of your blasphemy, you are the perpetrator, not anyone who's going to go kill someone else over it. You're the perpetrator. So because of this, he was illegally taken from a Christian province and then transported to the more strict Sharia compliant Kano province. And there he was illegally detained for years and facing, being forced to pray, being denied medical treatment. And after a very long time, he finally got a court case. And in this court case, he went against the wishes of his lawyers and suddenly stood before the judge and pleaded guilty. And the BBC, actually, you guys can go watch a little mini documentary that the BBC made about this scenario, because they were actually in the courtroom when this happened. And so you get real-time reactions about what happened in courtroom. Basically, we believe that Mubarak Bala was under severe duress when this happened, and that he was being told that if you don't plead guilty, things are going to happen to your wife and child, who was 6 weeks old at the time of his arrest. And so he pled guilty because it was kind of like, okay, like, I'll just keep my family safe. I can get this over sooner. And in response, they slapped him with an unprecedented 24-year sentence. Because they slapped him with multiple charges, gave him the maximum for every charge to be served consecutively. Completely unprecedented. And so it blew everyone away. Like, I remember when this came out, I couldn't believe it. I absolutely could not believe it. And so this is the update. And the update is that the good news is that his sentence has been reduced to 5 years. His lawyers appealed, and granted, the state itself could also appeal. And it has been ruled that the sentence that was given to him of 24 years was illegal. And let's not forget that everything that happened to him for the past 4 years is illegal. He was held without charge for years. He should have been charged within 48 hours. Like, this should be his, protected speech. It isn't. So while we can celebrate, and we should celebrate, that his sentence has been, incredibly reduced, we should not forget that it's completely unjust from the beginning. It's completely unjust from the beginning. Mubarak Bala should not have spent the past 4 years behind bars at all, let alone another 5 years behind bars. Because the foundations of this is all complete bullshit. And so, this is a good reminder about how hard other atheist activists are fighting around the world. What is at stake? What are the conditions that people are living in? What are the risks that people take when they're speaking out against religious dogma and intolerance? Because the case of Mubarak Bal was also to send a message. And it was to send a message to the burgeoning secular community in Nigeria, which is incredibly important considering that Nigeria is going to be a very important economic powerhouse, especially in the coming decades. And it's really stark and sad and heartbreaking. But we should still fight to make sure that he is unconditionally freed, because he should be unconditionally freed. And so his lawyers are going to continue to push to appeal his sentencing, because it should be appealed. He shouldn't be faced with these charges altogether. Let's not forget that he pled guilty himself against the wishes of his lawyers under duress, instead of actually going to fight the case. So that's the update. So I did want to have a slight celebration, but the asterisk is that this is complete BS and that he should have never faced any of this to begin with.
But I just want to thank you for UND for constantly making sure that this is being highlighted, because I don't see other places highlighting other. I'm so glad, because Nigeria is so important, not just for Africa but for the entire world. Nigeria is such an important, when it comes to activism, secular activists should really pay attention to Africa. It's such an important place, when it comes to religion and secular activism. And this guy was on the front lines, and we shouldn't. This is one of the heroes in our movement, and we should not be ignoring him. I mean, a lot of people focus on Islam and its influence in Europe, in North America, but Nigeria is one of the most populated countries in the world, and it's going to, I think, go from the ranking 7 to ranking 4 in the future, which is insane. This is going to be a major country that we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
It's going to influence the rest of Africa. So, and
Yeah.
it's not going in the good direction right now. So,
Yeah, and here's the thing. There are so few people that are doing this kind of work, doing secular activism, and we're a tiny community. And so we need to fight really hard for the
yeah,
atheists and alleged blasphemers who are being persecuted. Because unlike the Christian community, we don't have giant institutional funds behind us that can help like unroll lawyers the second that someone's persecuted, right? We're a tiny community with
yeah,
very few people that care at all about what happens to people that are doing unpopular work like this. And it's unpopular
yeah.
because it's against all religions and it's blasphemy and it's unpopular and it's seen as offensive. And so not many people are going to take up the defense of people like Mubarak Bala because it's seen as controversial and not nice.
I bet you
That's
if
why it's
Mubarak Bala
so
was Christian,
important that we it's so important that we take up the mantle to protect these people.
I bet you if Mubarak Bala was Christian and was saying such things about Islam, he would get such global support from the Christian community, right?
Mhm,
But the atheist community and the secular community is so small and so weak that when an atheist goes and says these things about Islam, we don't have all the funds, all the people to be able to mobilize to support somebody like this because, yeah,
mhm.
unfortunately,
Yeah,
we need to get there. We need to get our movement there.
yeah.
This is why sometimes like atheists or secular activists, just go join the Christians or just say that they're Christian because there's so much more support there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that was our last news story for today. But
Like the stream, guys. We need
we
our channel needs to grow. Given that we're one of the voices out there that is mentioning these people, make our voice louder. But before going to make sure you like the stream. Make sure when the stream is over, you leave a comment under the show for the algorithm. If you can't think of anything, just say that for the algorithm, right? For the algorithm, for the YouTube gods. Okay, say Orbata ella YouTube algorithm, right? Say that. so, so when Muslims do something, they say like for the pleasing of Allah. That's what they say, right? So to make sure that their motivations are correct, right? So you could say for the pleasing of the algorithm. So in the same way, yes. I know we're almost at 52K.
I
Yeah.
know, make sure to like and subscribe. But before we go, I wanted to take a moment to do something. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a moment to celebrate Armin for some amazing work he has been doing on the Persian side of Atheist Republic. Because I
Oh,
think it's that he's going to get uncomfortable. I think it's very important to tell our English speaking audience about what we're doing on the Persian side of our community because Armin has been doing such important work over on the Persian side of Atheist Republic. He is legitimately becoming so influential in that space. He is interviewing huge people. He had a major interview last week with a former regime official or no, top propagandist. Um,
well,
that was
He was picked by
groundbreaking.
Khamenei to be. He was picked by Khamenei himself to take the K to be the it is regime official because that media outlet is a regime outlet.
Mhm. Yeah. So you were interviewing him in a very groundbreaking interview, pushing him on some very sensitive topics. Low key, this man might never be able to return to Iran because of the things that Armin made him say. He has some other huge bombshell interviews coming up this week with huge influential public intellectuals. Like, I mean, I don't know. I know Armin wouldn't be like too embarrassed to talk about these things, but because although people say that you have a big ego, you don't like to talk about your own accomplishments that much. But I just wanted to celebrate Arm because he's doing like actually huge, huge, huge stuff on the Persian side right now.
I just, somebody in the live chat said to post a link to the Persian channel. I just wanted to make sure that if you speak Persian, here's the link to our Persian channel in the live chat.
Yeah, unfortunately, there are not English subtitles on anything. I wish.
Yes, soon AI will be able to translate that in real time for people. So hopefully, yeah. But also, guys, like the last interview that we did with this guy was also a huge step in the normalization of not just atheists but anti-Islamic critics. So because this guy is such a big deal among anti-regime Muslims, and sometimes there's a challenge between anti-regime Muslims and anti-regime atheists, and especially the ones who are the atheists that are more extreme when it comes to their anti-Islamic activism, because Iran has many people that are extremely anti-Islamic, right? It's a big movement, but we also have many Muslims who are very anti-regime, and these two groups sometimes have a hard time coming together because they're both anti-regime, but there's some sensitivities there that they don't know if they're going to be able to collaborate. And me meeting with this guy is seen by many people as the possibility that because that these Muslims are willing to look past not just Iranians who are not Muslim, but even Iranians who are aggressively anti-Islamic, to be able to accept them as as part of this revolution, because we have been able to show that we accept them, even though we are extremely anti-Islamic. We accept them as part of this fight. But this acceptance of this invitation has been seen by many people as they're also making a move towards us, and him normalizing talking to somebody who burns the Quran, who has spit on the Quran, who has insulted the prophets, who has insulted the imams, right? And they are seeing us even as allies. So this is a major breaking of taboos that weren't seen as possible before, right? And because a lot of people always warn me, I mean, use somebody who burns the Quran, Muslims are not going to work with you. Muslims are not going to talk to you. Muslims are not going to be, we're in a revolution against the Islamic Republic, and this is too radical. And now this is actually a sign that it was not too radical. This is a major step in normalization of all the anti-Islamic activists in Iran, to show that we will be accepted as part of society. Yeah.
And a major win against certain Iranian atheist activists that are full-blown appeasement mode.
Exactly. Amazing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Michelle is celebrating her membership for 4 months, saying, "Thank you both for all you do." Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for supporting our community.
Thank you.
Oh, we got a few more super chats. John is saying, "Zen zandagi azadi fi Arabia mara haya hurya," which I believe is the same. And Villain Troll gave us $6.66, saying, "We missed all the socialist revolutions. Our elites lost hope in us, and they were right. We must accept divorce and pay alimony to their new loves." I don't know what the hell this means, but thank you for the super chat.
Yes, thank you.
Can we get one last update on the helicopter before we go?
Yes. Okay. So let's see. So Hassan Khomeini is praying for that he's alive. So the people are saying still no sign of the helicopter. They haven't even been able to find the helicopter yet. Rouhani, the previous president, is saying, "I ask God to bring Raisi back to the arms of the country." So, but just basically a whole bunch of prayers and no sign of the helicopter. That's the most recent update. Do you want to bet if he's dead or not?
Okay, what are we betting?
I don't know. You decide.
Yeah, what's on the table? Come on. What do you have to offer?
I have to think about this.
Yeah. What are you what are you more willing to take? Are you more willing to say that he is alive or more willing to say he's not alive?
I mean, I'm not an expert when it comes to helicopter crashes, but so my intuition will not be a very good source of information right now. But I'm just assuming if the helicopter has gone in such a way that you haven't still found it,
It's
I
not
would just
looking good, bro.
assume it's not looking good. Yeah, like I'm assuming, like, how could a helicopter come down like this? Like, given that if they're alive, if it wasn't as bad, if it wasn't a major helicopter crash, it would be like a hard landing instead of a crash. If it was a hard landing and not a crash, then somebody there, because it was a number of people there, at least one of them will be able to pick up the radio and contact somebody, right? So it's more of a, so I'm assuming that this is more of a, not a hard landing and more of a crash. And because of that, I would bet, again, could be completely wrong because I'm not an expert when it comes to helicopters or crashes, but I'm just gonna just randomly say he's dead.
Let's ask ChatGPT. What is the probability of surviving a helicopter crash? Let's go find out.
Oh, that's a good a crash, not a hard landing.
Yeah. Okay. According to the National Transportation Safety Board and other aviation safety organizations, helicopter crashes have a higher fatality rate compared to fixed-wing aircraft. However, specific survival rates can vary widely, obviously. For an example, a study from the U.S. helicopter safety team found that between 2000 and 2011, about 31% of helicopter accidents were fatal.
Oh, wow. How many percent?
That's at helicopter accidents. That can be any manner of things. I'm talking about a full-blown crash.
Yeah, not accidents. We're talking crash. Yeah. Ask him, like, I'm not talking, like, tell him, like, ChatGPT or her. I don't know. Tell her we're talking.
I would say not an accident, comma, a full-blown crash in the mountains.
Yeah.
Surviving a full-blown helicopter crash in the mountains is highly challenging.
You don't say.
Bonerisms. Oh, excuse me. Let me take this real seriously. Anything over a 30-foot drop breaks like an egg. I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah.
It's not giving me anything concrete.
Yeah, I am more leaning towards dead.
I don't know. I think there might be one or two survivors. I think we'll have a few survivors walk away.
But if they were survivors, wouldn't they, like, not pick up the radio and be like, "Yeah, we're here. Please come
survivors,
help
but
us."
critically injured.
Okay, if they're critically injured, then they're very, like, I think, like, if the crash was hard enough to make them critically injured, then I think that it's hard enough to kill them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's, to me, it's like a little bit binary. It's either, because it's a helicopter and it's in the freaking mountains. It's like, if it crashes, you either just had a hard landing, which was kind of tough, or you're dead. Again, I don't know. I'm just, like, guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, especially if the conditions were this bad. It's probably not. It's not looking good.
They had their phones with them. You should be able to track their phones, right? Like, tracking, like, the Irish, when it comes to finding people who are anti-regime, they manage to track people's phones and they find them like this, okay? Given that all these people on their helicopter, they had their phones with them, how come they can't find them? Like, can they not track their phones? And if they can't track their phones, how bad the crash was that their phones are also, like, fried or something?
We got another super chat. Mindspan Wellness is saying, according to the Iranian journalist Ahmad Wahidi, contact had been established between authorities and the Iranian President Raisi's aides.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.